What's next? You got the list? What's next? After front of vehicle.
Fluid levels.
Okay? So I'm going to check my coolant level, proper level. Power steering, proper level. My oil is at the proper level. None of it's damaged or leaking. I'm going to check all of my hoses. I got fluid hoses. I got air hoses. I'm going to check all of my hoses for fluid or air leaks. Make sure they're securely attached at each end. No abrasions, bulges, cuts, no leaks. Okay? What's next?
My hoses.
That's what I just did.
Oh.
Next one, steering system.
The steering system. The
So
steering system.
I got my power steering hose. I got my power steering fluid. So now I'm going to do my steering box. It should be securely mounted to the frame. Check the bolts, right? The mounting bolts. And it should not be leaking. Then I'm going to check the steering linkage. That's this, and this. Those three parts. That's the pitman arm, the drag link, and the steering knuckle. You don't have to say that. You just have to say steering link.
It's not included. So it's not included the steering shaft.
Not on the test.
Oh, wow. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my
It
gosh.
should be, but it's not.
You know what we?
Just like the pin should be, the pin in the fire extinguisher, that should be on test, but it's not.
The school that we came from, they
California?
test us. No. I mean, it was Wisconsin in rural transport. They test us with the air cleaner filter, air cleaner.
For your CDL?
Yeah, the air cleaner, the
So
fuel
you
filter.
already have a CDL?
No, I don't. They failed me in purpose. I talked about the whole
See,
truck.
it's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous.
Because California.
They tell us as soon as
It's ridiculous.
everything that we did, they just say that you
All
guys
right.
watch YouTube
So
videos.
the steering linkage, okay?
Yes, pitman arm.
Drag link and steering knuckle. You don't have to name the parts, just call it the steering linkage and point to them.
Okay. Wow.
Okay?
That's
Because that's
simple.
what it is. It's a steering linkage.
Oh my God.
I'm going to make sure that it's securely mounted to the steering box. See that bolt right there?
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure that none of it's cracked, bent, or broken. I'm going to make sure that the joints and sockets are not loose or worn. Wherever two pieces meet each other is a joint. Okay? It's a ball joint. It has a socket. So the joints and sockets are not loose or worn, and they're securely attached with a castle nut and a cotter pin. What's next?
That's all the engine component now? We talk about
that's
that?
the steering.
No, I know, but the engine
Tires and rims.
I'm going to make sure that my tire's evenly worn. No
Evenly
abrasions, bulges, or cuts. The
42.
tread depth should be a minimum of 4/32 of an inch. I'm going to check the tire pressure for proper inflation. I'm going to use a tire gauge, check it at the tire valve, make sure the tire valve has a cap on it. What's after tires?
Nut next.
Lug nuts.
What about rims?
Rims,
Rims, yeah,
yeah.
rims.
The rims shouldn't be cracked or welded.
Or
Welded.
Or repairs.
No cracks, no welds.
no wheels.
No
No
legal
rust.
welds.
You don't
No
have to say
cracks,
rust?
no welds.
Okay.
The
And
rims.
lug nuts, right?
Wow.
This is where you talk about the rust. Okay? So none of my lug nuts are missing. I'm going to look at the base of the lug nut for shiny metal or rust streaks coming off the lug nuts. Look at the top of the lug nut for shiny threads. That could mean it's loose. Okay? And none of them are missing. What's next?
Brakes.
Spring mounted and air brakes.
Let's do one thing at a time. Springs, mounts, and shocks.
And shocks,
and shocks.
yes.
Okay, so here's my spring mount, and here's my spring. I'm gonna make sure the spring mount, there's two of them, one in the front, one in
And
the
one on the
back,
back.
back there. I'm gonna make sure that they are securely mounted to the frame, not cracked, bent, or broken. I'm gonna make sure that the springs are securely mounted to the spring mount. Makes sense, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna check the nuts, bolts, and bushings where it's at the connection. So there's a nut, a bolt, and a bushing here. On the back one, there's two of each. There's two nuts, two bolts, and
Do
two
you have to
bushings.
let them know that it's two?
No.
Okay.
Just tell them I'm checking the nuts, bolts, and bushings. And the spring should not be cracked, bent, or broken, or shifted out of position. And the shock absorber should be securely mounted at the top and bottom with some nuts, bolts, and bushings, and the shock should not be leaking. Next.
We talked even hop oil seals.
Brake lines and
Seriously,
hoses.
it's crazy.
Well, I mean, and You know, it probably should be on the test, but it's not. I'm
That's
just
crazy.
saying it ain't on there.
We talked about
Okay.
the doors, seals, hinges, links, door handles, steps.
That's because they thought you were Captain Kirk, man.
Brake lines and hoses.
Okay, so I'm gonna check my brake hoses, make sure that they are not abrasion bulges, cuts, not leaking, and properly attached at the fittings on each end.
Okay.
And then what?
My
Brakes contaminants.
Okay, listen, brake contaminants. I don't
Should not have
need
any
you
oils.
to tell me that this has disc brakes. I don't need, and definitely don't say it has drum brakes because it don't. It has disc brakes.
So I should.
But you don't need to tell me that.
So I should
All you
say-
got to do is point at the inside of the wheel here and go, I'm going to check my brakes to make sure they're not contaminated with oil or grease.
okay.
That should cost any
Okay.
brake failures. Wow.
We already did outside of vehicles, lenses and deflectors.
Uh-huh.
Traffic monitoring
I'm
devices.
going to make sure that my mirror is securely mounted to the body of the truck. None of the bolts are loose or missing.
Okay.
Batteries.
You don't need to tell me about the door. Okay, I'm going to check my batteries. I'm going to make sure that the battery box is securely mounted to the frame.
Okay.
The batteries themselves are securely attached inside the battery box. Okay, and I'm going to check the wires or cables, whatever you want to call them. Make sure they're not cut or frayed or damaged. Make sure that the battery cables are securely attached at the battery terminals. Make sure the battery terminals don't have excessive corrosion on them, and make sure that the battery cover is secure.
So when that what you just said, we don't have to show it and show and tell. We don't have to show that part.
Just point at the batteries and explain all that.
Okay, okay.
What's
Fuel
next?
tank, the fuel
Okay,
tank.
so the fuel tank and the DEF tank. This is the DEF tank. We affectionately refer to this one as the cow piss tank. Okay. Aren't you going to ask me why?
County tank. You said county.
Why? Because it looks like
Why?
cow
It-
piss?
no, it smells like.
Oh,
It's
okay.
nasty.
That is hell, brother. But
Go
he
ahead,
could be
open it.
comedian.
Smell it.
Go ahead and open it.
You
Smell
open
it. No, don't. I wouldn't have. You will the first time you have to fill it up. You'll
Of
smell
course,
it.
of course.
It smells like pee. That's why we call it that. Okay. All right. So I'm going to make sure that this mounting bracket that
It's
is
mounting.
securely mounted to the frame. The tank itself is made out of plastic, so it shouldn't be cracked, have any holes or leaks, and the cap should be on tight. And look on the ground for any fuel or DEF leaks. Right. Check the fuel tank, make sure that it's mounted properly. So that one has that metal mounting bracket. The fuel tank has two metal mounting straps with rubber spacers. So make sure the mounting straps and the rubber spacers are securely mounted to the frame. And the fuel tank itself isn't damaged, cracked, have any holes in it, no leaks, and the fuel cap is on tight. What's next?
The
frames?
Frame.
Frames.
Frame.
Sir.
It's a combination
It is a-
vehicle, so there's more than one frame.
Yeah,
frames.
Okay?
Yes.
So
yes.
the tractor frame and cross members shouldn't be cracked, bent, or broken. No illegal welds, no broken, loose, or missing nuts or bolts. The trailer frame, same thing, not cracked, bent, or broken. No missing bolts or pins.
Okay.
Look underneath at the cross members.
Yeah.
Make sure the cross members aren't cracked, bent, or broken. And look at the floor. Make sure it doesn't have any holes in the floor. And I need to check this part of the frame back here. Not cracked, bent, or broken. No illegal welds. No loose or missing or broken nuts or bolts. Okay.
That's a frame too.
And that's part of the frame, yes.
Okay.
And we have sliding tandems, so I have to look at the tandem slide
The lock
and make
key.
sure that the tandem
Lock key.
slide pins are in the lock position and that the tandem release button is in the lock position. What's next?
Air and electrical connection.
By the trailer.
I'm gonna check the air connections at the tractor right here. Make sure they're secure and not leaking. You're not recording me, are you?
No, man.
Okay. Make sure that the connections are secure and not leaking. I'm going to check the electrical connection right here. Make sure that it's plugged in and securely latched. That's a latch.
Okay.
Then I'm going to go to the other end, and I'm going to check the electrical line at this end. Make
that's
sure
what you
it's
wanna
plugged
step
in and
in.
latched.
Okay.
And then I'm going to check the air connections at this end. These are glad hands. Make sure the glad hands are properly attached. There's a rubber seal on the inside. Make sure that the rubber seal is good so it's not leaking.
Easy to connect it, like you can just, it comes off.
Okay.
Simple, yeah. And take it out the electric line. Just you pull it out. Simple in.
So grab it and pull it up to a 90-degree angle, and it'll pop right off.
The hands are right
Right here
there.
so you have better leverage. And now put it back on a 90-degree angle, 90 degree, and then rotate it down. It's not even. Make sure it stays even.
Step in.
Make sure it stays even. 90 degrees.
90 degrees.
Like this. And rotate it down.
I'm gonna have to
Let me show
do
you.
it first.
Right here, put it like that.
But I never did this shit before. What the fuck is so
So,
funny?
it's kind of funny, but that's
I don't know how to
okay.
do
But
it.
it's
I've
okay.
never seen it done
Hey,
before.
shit is funny. Okay?
I've never seen it done.
No offense. Life is funny.
Yeah.
I can't wait
Huh?
till you start
That's some funny. Yeah, then you can laugh
Because I'm
at
gonna crack my ass.
it. So,
Even
you
if
just
it ain't
make
funny.
sure that it's nice
Lined
and
up.
flush, right like that.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and it's lined up, and then you just rotate it
That's
down.
behind it. Okay, behind it.
She's gonna smack you, man. I'm not gonna stop
Only
her.
don't know
It's
one
okay.
time.
She's gonna smack you upside your
You
head.
only
no
don't know
matter what.
one time. You don't
Okay,
know
there you go.
One
You got
time. After one time,
You got it.
You can't know nothing you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yes,
That's
sir.
what you only don't know.
But
one
here's
time.
the deal though. You see that? You see how you attach that right there?
Yeah.
You know when you learned how to do that?
See, like,
When you were a toddler and your mom gave you that present, it was like a box that had different holes in it. You had to line up the shapes.
see, boss. You talk even in. I don't.
toy I'm
That
talking
came out
about.
after us.
I had one of those when I was a kid.
So it's not include this
That was a
like.
hand-me-down though.
I remember that. What was the name of it? I remember
You
that.
gotta line up the shapes with the holes.
Remember
So it's not include
Oh
the
my
test.
God, I remember that.
Part of the
No.
cop
I can't
reflected
remember the
DOT,
name of it,
know
though.
the shacks,
No.
know the
I
airbag.
was
no,
thinking
no.
of the
Are
name
they
of
serious?
that
Come on,
bad
man.
boy
Come on, come on. Don't give him no extra.
Man, I ain't
Yeah,
doing
don't
no
give me
extra,
extra
man. I'm
shit
just
to do,
asking
man.
a question.
Come
I
on.
was
You
like,
just
what
need
the
to
hell
learn
is
to
going on
push.
here?
I'm lazy, man. Don't be giving me extra shit.
No, I'm asking you.
So
boss.
after I check the connections, I'm going to check the hoses themselves. The air hoses, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. The electrical line, it shouldn't be cut or frayed or taped or damaged in any way. And the air and electrical lines should not be tangled. They should not be kinked or pinched. And the air and electrical lines should not be touching any part of the cracker. What's next?
Fifth wheel skid plate.
Fifth wheel on skid plate.
Here's my fifth wheel, right here.
That's the fifth wheel.
I'm going to make sure that it's securely mounted. I'm going to look for loose or missing mounting bolts and mounting pins. No loose or missing mounting bolts or pins. Okay, I'm going to make sure that the fifth wheel's got plenty of grease on it. I'm going to make sure that the release arm is in the locked position. I'm going to make sure that the slide pin, so there's slide pins back there. There's a slide pin right here too. Make sure the slide pin is in the locked position. Check the apron, not cracked, bent, or broken. Make sure there's no gap between the apron and the fifth wheel.
Okay.
And then, all you young whippersnappers, come under here. I'm the oldest one here, and if I can do it, so can you.
The locking jaw
So we got some
and the
roll
kimping.
Hey, if I could just quit smoking, I'll live till I'm 100 years old. I already lost 80 pounds.
in. That's good.